Those are Nick and Joseph. In addition, the topic of the boys in the boat will be covered today. George Clooney helms a nighttime picture. Discover the Amazon release from MGM Studios set for Christmas Day, 2023. George Clooney has directed so many films, I'm lost for words. Nobody can tell you. His last two were reviewed, I suppose. Describe them. Also released in December was The Midnight Sky. Oh, I do recall that. In The Tender Bar, with Ben Affleck and George Clooney directing, it wasn't that we didn't enjoy it. When we were younger, I thought Ben Affleck had a good performance in that film. Yes, I think so too. In addition, the film features a young man who is somewhat similar to Ties. In the outset, too. However, it has been quite a while since I last viewed Clooney's first three films, which include Good Night, Good Luck, and Leatherheads, as well as Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Suburb Icon, Monuments Men, and Ides of March were among his other works. I believe that concludes the list. However, it seems like a lot of them have been missing something similar as of late. The 1930 film chronicles the rise of the University of Washington rowing team from its humble beginnings, during the Great Depression, to its historic 1936 Olympic gold medal victory in Berlin. The question that arises is why he is chosen to tell these stories. That is, in essence, all. They ought to have referred to this as their very own boat. After seeing the trailer and reading the premise, I thought this movie was going to be pretty predictable. I found this film to be extremely dull, so I suppose it's perfect for those who still have greatest generation grandparents and are obligated to take them out on Christmas. In regards to my poll, what are your thoughts? What is the quote? Yes. The quotation from your book, Her Into a Creative Coma It Strides, an emotionally charged, financially frugal sports drama. George Clooney's ambitions are too traditional. So, one youngster serves as a sort of protagonist. Callum Turner, whose hair is a shade similar to Joe Blight's in Songbirds and Snakes, is the protagonist. Oh, please. The same. You really shouldn't be experimenting with hair color like this. Joseph raps. The parents have left their young, working-class son, but who is he? That concludes his biography. He dreams of being a member of the 8-man rowing squad in Seattle. Why? Rowing was in his blood. Oh, is that so? We only provide that. It sounds a lot like Stand By Me at the beginning. You may recall that Richard Dreyfuss was reminiscing about his youth at the beginning of the film, and that the older Joe gave us the backstory before ending it in a very awkward way, while conversing with his great-grandson. On the other hand, the film's rhythms are incredibly predictable. This montage is what we get. Joel Edgerton plays Coach Al Albrechtsen, who comes across as straightforward and unfussy in his approach to team selection and the selection process. It depicts Joe's struggle to maintain a healthy relationship with a young woman named Joyce Hadley Robinson, who adds zero spice to his life at university. Then there's the regatta, where the underprivileged team competes against the well-off youth. The rancid team, unsurprisingly, comes out on top. Following that, we must. The following year, they will represent their country at the Olympics in Berlin. Nobody expected them to win, so there is no money to send them. So there's a little bit of a scuffle about that, trying to get funding. The regatta in Berlin is proceeding in a similar vein. The only difference is that this time around there's this hammy actor playing Hitler, and he's looking furious as he oversees everything. And then there's Jesse Owens, who happens to be an Olympic athlete that year. In order to clarify that he is not trying to outvote the Germans, George Clooney gives him a brief aside. He's on a mission to prove to the Americans that they're missing out on style. Martin Rooney shot it, and it looks great. I feel like Isabelle Fuhrman portrayed a young woman in a recent film called The Novice who was trying to make it as a competitive rower. That film had all the passion that this one lacks. Like Chariots of Fire, but without the great score that makes the former bearable, this one is hard to watch. Edgerton looks good. His current state is not new to us. The opportunity to collaborate with George Clooney is probably the only reason he would have wanted to be in this film. The great British character actor Peter Guinness has my admiration. You might remember him from Alien 3 as an inmate. He's portraying the role of George Pocock, the man responsible for constructing and repairing the boat they're rowing in. He forms a bond with Joe Rance, and they frequently revisit the topic of keeping Joe motivated to continue racing. This is because, naturally, Joe is somewhat of a defiant spirit, and he has a confrontation with Joel Edgerton, who nearly eliminates him in the Olympics at the last minute. However, he obviously does not. According to one of my notes, it's important that they come out on top in the race. To what end are we tuning in? That ought to be the slogan, because there is absolutely nothing surprising about it. However, I was irritated, not a good sign, when I first noticed the score in the opening credits, only to learn that the brilliant Alexandre Desplat, a two-time Oscar winner, was responsible for it. I thought this score, along with two others that Desplat composed this year, were utterly terrible. It was disappointing because I don't know which two Asteroid City movies are out there. Without a doubt. The score just added to my dislike of the film. For Roman Polanski's The Palace, too, a terrible picture with a score that damn near destroys it. It was just not appealing to me. That was boring. However, Callum Turner is a charming presence on screen, and he's also incredibly attractive. The idea of filming that doesn't appeal to me. However, he has been involved for almost 10 years, beginning with Green Room and continuing with John Boorman's Queen and Country. You have no idea. Over the course of the runtime, I am unable to grasp onto much of this. For the lads on the boat, what would you recommend? Do you mean the lads on the boat? I can't help but fantasize about the band members. Like you, I think that both adaptations of the film are good, but Friedkin's is the superior choice. Giving it to all the renegades is, in my opinion, an act of tremendous generosity.